You ever watch a movie only for the trailer for that movie to be better than the actual movie? Well, that would be the case for this terrible movie called Pitfall. So the gist of this movie is that basically a group of friends go into the woods and one of them gets trapped in a pitfall, a hole, and the rest of them are being chased by a killer. And the movie trailer for this was definitely very well edited because I really did want to see this. You have some reviews on this trailer like a thrilling, crowd-pleasing survival horror. It's like Friday the 13th in 127 hours. But after watching this, I think I definitely agree with the 4.6 rating on the IMDb that are calling this a terrible movie. You have reviews saying it's like an Indian movie. The pitfalls of bad writing. There's even movie critics out here roasting this movie, one of the most unpleasant horror movies of this year. Pitfall is an accurate way to describe how this sloppily edited, idiotic horror movie sinks into a cesspool of cliches and potholes. There's also some very interestingly high reviews, giving this movie a 10. Definitely the cast members and directors, producers that worked on the movie trying to save the movie from the rating. Got this rating by Elizabeth. It says, sat at the edge of my seat, so good and scary. There was nonstop suspense, which I love. The cast was amazing, the horror moments were horrible in all the good ways. To be honest, I was a little scared. The directing and cinematography was first class. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but 20 people disagree with you, and the 4.6 on IMDb says that this movie sucks. We have another review saying, such a fun ride. This movie is so good. It explores grief and such while giving the characters you care about and a killer you can sympathize with. Plus, the kills are super good. I will let you know now, this movie is nowhere near good, and you will not be sympathizing with this killer. Like, I don't even know why this movie got nominated for Best Feature. I don't even know who this guy is. Why you nominate this movie? It's awful. I also would like to share the budget for this movie. So this movie had a budget of $200,000. It only made $20,000 on the opening week and $41,000 globally. Like, this shouldn't be funny. This movie completely bombed the box office, and there's people out here posting fake reviews. So the movie starts off with a woman and a child being chased in the woods by a mysterious stranger, and of course they end up in plain sight of the killer in the woods. After miraculously escaping the chaser, they find an adorable deer that they go to pet. But as everyone knows in horror movies, animals never survive, so the deer has to die. So the deer ends up falling into a pitfall. That's the title of the movie, by the way. This is a not so subtle foreshadowing as to what's going to happen to the rest of the people in this movie. So the man chasing the mom and her child end up finding them again, grabbing a boy and holding him hostage. And we end up finding that this is like his girlfriend or whatever, and she promises that she will come back with him as long as he doesn't hurt her child. And now I'm not sure what gym this kid goes to, but he somehow elbows the guy and he gets the guy's knife, pulling it on him, and he tells the man, stay away from her, Papa.
Stay away from her, Papa.
You are just like Papa. Stay away from her. And the next scene has to be the dumbest sequence of events and even a kid had better survival awareness in this next scene. He says, run, Mom. He's gonna hurt you, as the man is approaching them, and Mom just stands there and lets him kill her.
Run, Mama. He's gonna hurt you.
So anyway, the mom falls. She ends up falling to the pitfall, lands into the spike switch, impels her, and the little boy who fell in there somehow miraculously didn't land on the trap, which shows how bad of a trap this is. Next, we jump forward in the movie, and I'm not even sure how far we're going forward. This is something this movie really sucks at, which is like setting up the scenes to let you know where we're at in the time. Like, we don't know if we jump forward a day, a year, a month. It just jumps forward into a car, and this is when we're introduced into the two main characters of the movie, Ashley and Scott. So here we are in the car with Ashley and Scott and his parents, and they're playing Never Have I Ever, when suddenly I think a deer jumps in front of the car and the grandpa swerves and crashes. And then that's when we realize that this is actually just a dream, and Scott wakes up, and this is when we're introduced to Scott and his girlfriend Gwen, and they're kind of talking about a trip, and she asks him, are you ready? And he's like, yeah, man, I don't really know. But after introducing us to Scott, we jump to his sister Ashley. Jump to Ashley, who's throwing up into a toilet, and this guy walks into the bathroom, calls her babe. She's like, don't call me babe, you're not my boyfriend. He's like, yeah, whatever, babe, I'm gonna make it work anyway.
Save me the lecture, okay? You're not my boyfriend.
Yeah, but I'm wearing you down. I can tell.
We also see her throw a pack of cigarettes into the wastebasket, and then she ends up grabbing them again. I guess she's trying to quit cigarettes, and then she just had a relapse in the same millisecond. And I'm gonna be honest, Charlie, not Ashley's boyfriend, looks just like Scott. And I'm gonna keep saying that throughout this video, like they look exactly the same. So apparently there's this trip coming up and they're all nervous about it. She's not excited to see her brother. The brother's not excited to see Ashley. This is all unfolding after, I guess, a few years after the accident, and they're just kind of like each other or scared to see each other. Mind you, we're still trying to figure out what happened to the kid from the pit at the beginning. Like, we just jumped forward 2 times to a flashback in a car to these 2 siblings. No telling how many years later. And guess what? We get hit with another time jump, and we're into the car with Ashley, Scott, Charlie, and then Gwen, and some other guy who we're not even introduced to. Like, we're just jumping everywhere. What's going on? Who are these people? So they end up pulling up to the hiking trail where they're supposed to arrive at, and everyone gets out the car and starts unpacking. And I can't help but laugh because who is the hairstylist of this movie? It's absolutely terrible. Like, I found a review of somebody talking about the hairstylist that they need to be fired, and I agree because Charlie's hairstylist. What is this? Who did this here? Everyone's unpacking the car, and this is when we're introduced to Lars, the other guy who's in the car, who everyone should know because this is Michael Harmon. He's from The 100. He was also in Final Destination Bloodlines. And his character is unfortunately the same in all movies. He comes off irritating. He's supposed to be like this insufferable character who punches jokes, who's sarcastic, and basically gets on everybody's nerves. Lars gets out the car and he starts nitpicking with Charlie, saying like, oh, you're this great like nature guy. And yeah, nature's amazing, isn't it? There's a tree right there. There's a tree over there. Basically just trying to get under his skin for whatever reason. And Charlie is reasonably mad because why are you here if you're not going to enjoy the nature? Like, hitchhiking, camping, that's nature, right? Like, why are you here if you're not going to enjoy it? And we find out the brother of Ashley, Scott, he's the one who invited Lars for whatever reason. Like, why would you want to go camping with 2 other couples? That's got to be awkward at night, right? Like, why would you want a 4th wheel like this? It's also important to remember at this point that Scott has the map, the car keys. Lars locked his phone in the car for whatever reason. So the movie then cuts to a guy and 2 other girls hiding in the woods. And actually, the guy isn't even hiding. Like, he's in plain sight in the open, just waiting to die, I guess, while the 2 girls hide behind a tree. So guess what? He dies in a brutal fashion, which is the whole gimmick of this movie and a lot of the other movies that are coming out now. Just a lot of gore, a lot of gruesome killing. And maybe I'm desensitized to all these movies, but the way he dies looks very fake. Like, the special effects aren't impressive or anything. Maybe I've seen too many horror movies. We need more smart horror movies like Hush or You're Next. Like, if you're going to be a super gory horror movie, I feel like we need a movie like You're Next where at least the protagonists are smart, but in this case, the protagonists are all dumb. Back to the friends who are slowly walking deeper into the woods, and Scott is trying to talk to his sister, Ashley, who's emotional, so she wanders off to be confronted by her not boyfriend, Charlie. He tells Ashley that they can just leave and just tell everyone that she got sick, but she refuses, saying that she doesn't want to give her brother the satisfaction of leaving. But up until this point, I haven't seen a brother acting like any sort of way towards Ashley. Like, he's not giving her the cold shoulder. He's not being rude to her. He's not like gaslighting her into thinking she did something wrong. He's just actually trying to enjoy the trip. And Ashley's basically being like a butthead and giving him the cold shoulder. So it's not like he's trying to one up his sister in anything. And she's acting like, oh no, I don't want to go because that'll give him the satisfaction of me leaving. Like, he didn't even do anything wrong yet. And her brother shows up and he kind of tells her he just wants to have his old sister back. And his sister guilt trips him and says, well, I just want mom and dad back. Ouch. That stings. Guess what, Ashley? Scott wasn't even the one driving the car in a flashback that led to the accident. Your grandpa was. So how's the accident even his fault? I don't get why she's blaming him, but maybe later in the movie we'll get to see something, because as far as we know, Scott wasn't driving, the grandpa was, so the accident is not his fault. So the group ends up making it back to camp, and Scott suggests that they go get real food because no one packed anything for the weekend in the middle of the woods except protein bars. Like, this actually has to be the worst trip ever. Who goes on a 3-day trip with nothing but protein bars? What are you thinking? What are we eating out here? Like, how does anyone expect to survive 3 days on protein bars? I know that is possibly plausible to do it, but it's not going to be enjoyable. Like, I feel like everyone's door dashing by day 2. Anyway, Scott and Charlie go fishing to get some real food, while Lars and Ashley talk a little, giving us some lore about Lars and his background. So apparently Lars is a film student, and he showed up to support Ashley, basically, and yeah, that's it. He's just there to be there. He goes to film with his camera because he's a film student and he wants to submit to a film festival. Meanwhile, Charlie and Scott are doing some male bonding, while Charlie teaches Scott about obsidian and that he can cut through anything, and they also catch a fish. They catch one singular fish and head back to camp. How was one fish going to feed the entire camp? That's what, 6 people? I'm sorry, I can't count. That's 5 people you got to feed with one fish. And they spent all that time there that by the time they leave, it's now nighttime. So you spend the whole time catching one fish. What are we doing? So back at camp, Ashley gets sick again, and we pretty much figure out that before she says anything that she's pregnant, and she's pregnant by her not boyfriend, Charlie. Makes sense. I don't understand why she was being like, trying to set some sort of boundaries between them, knowing she's pregnant. Like, this guy's going to be the future father of your child if you decide to keep him. You're saying like, yeah, don't call me babe. Like, there's bigger things to worry about here. And Gwen is, during the scene, she's comforting Ashley and telling her she's going to be okay, and that she should basically accept her brother more, be nicer to him, and know that he's always been there for her. She also tells her to tell her not boyfriend Charlie that she's pregnant, and Ashley just cries, saying that her mom won't be able to see her grandbaby. So meanwhile, Scott and Charlie are headed back to camp since they've been gone all day and it's night. And when they are walking back, they get chased by wolves. After a short chase, the wolves suddenly start getting killed off by something or someone, ... the killer. And apparently the killer has some sort of like super strength or superpower, because he murders these wolves by his bare hands, and he lets out this weird like victory scream.
Or something's killing them.
He's just like over there Goku Super Saiyan. So this scares both of the characters and they start running. And when I say running, I mean like Charlie is straight booking it. Like, you would think that they're actually being chased by a real killer on the set of the movie, because Charlie's booking it in the distance while Scott is in the background trying to keep up with him. And he ends up going so far forward in front of Scott that Scott ends up falling into a pit. Now, I'm not sure how this works because Charlie's in front of him running. So any ground that Charlie's covered should have been safe. But Charlie ends up missing a pitfall and Scott doesn't. I don't understand how that works. And Charlie doesn't even stop to look for Scott. He takes one look back. He's like, Scott, are you there? Scott doesn't answer. Charlie keeps booking it like he doesn't care. Honestly, relatable moment, because if I'm running and I look behind me, you're not there, I'm not looking for you, especially if we're getting chased by something. You got to look out for your own. I'm not looking for you. So back at camp, Ashley is starting to get worried while Gwen acts like she just doesn't care that her boyfriend, man, fiance, husband, whatever, is out there in the dark.
It's taking so long. Should have been back by now.
Don't worry, Ash. They're probably just bonding over fish.
Yeah, they're fishing in the dark, Ashley. Don't worry, they're just fishing in the dark. But Lars isn't into the gaslighting, so he's like, yeah, something's wrong. In this exact moment, Charlie ends up running back into the camp, scaring everyone. And a group starts asking Scott where Scott is, and Charlie's like, I lost him, it was dark, I don't know. They all start yelling at him to come up with a plan to save him, and they don't even give him time to think in this scene, right? They're just yelling at him before Lars pulls him to the side, and he's like, you need to pull it together, man. Like, you've been all this like macho nature, man. You need to pull it together. This is your moment. I'm not understanding the gaslighting here. He just ran all the way back from the river to the camp, fearing for his life, and you can't even set him down, get him a cup of water, something to drink. But I guess this method works since he does end up coming up with the plan. Tells the group to stick together since wolves can pick them off, and to grab a knife. That's the plan. That's it. Grab a knife, stick together, find Scott. Anybody else could have came up with that same exact plan, but apparently it had to come from Charlie. Back at the pit, Scott wakes up to see a stick through his leg, and he quickly uses his belt as a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. But then he notices his backpack is hanging above, caught on a tree root, so he takes off the tourniquet to get the backpack. This is honestly one of the most pointless scenes ever. I feel like he forgot he wasn't supposed to be putting a tourniquet on his leg yet, and he was supposed to be reaching for the backpack. But then he did it, and they were like, you know what, screw it, just roll with it. Take it off your leg and just go ahead and do the next scene. In the next sequence, we jump between Scott trying to get the backpack and a group looking for him. Lars is blaming Charlie for losing Scott and teases him about being the one to talk himself up about being some grand nature expert. In the pit, Charlie manages to get the backpack searching for the phone, only to find a map, a water bottle, the fish he caught earlier, and the tape recorder. While this is happening, in a group, Ashley suggests to Gwen that they should get the map. But remember, Scott has the map. And Ashley just now asking for a map after they've been wandering for a while in the woods doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't you have the map to begin with before you even left the camp? Why would you start walking into the woods and say 5 minutes later, oh yeah guys, we should bring out the map? You wouldn't even know where you were if you pulled it out. So morning comes and a group has discovered tracks that they think is Scott's, but Scott is very obviously sleeping in a hole with a stick up his leg, so it's not him, but they follow it anyway. The movie then finally decides to explain what happened to the kid from the beginning of the movie who fell in a hole. He managed to somehow crawl out of the pit, and once he climbed out, he kills this innocent man who was just hunting in the woods for no reason, beginning his villain arc as the hunter, aka the killer in the movie. So instead of going after his dad who murdered his mom, shoved him in the pit and left him for dead, he decides to climb out the pit, kill this random man, and begin killing random people in the woods. I don't understand like the character development here. Like, how does this make any sense? Remember the review from earlier? We're gonna sympathize with this killer, so it makes sense, guys. Like, we should feel bad that are in the woods all his life and now he has to kill people. We should feel bad for this man. The movie cuts back to two girls from the beginning of the movie, Catherine and Monica, who are still running from the killer, but somehow found a radio that broadcasts them to the park ranger. And the park ranger is conveniently like 20 feet away from them. Like, he's literally a couple trees down from them. So Catherine is super excited and she runs toward the ranger, only to get caught in a trap hanging her from her foot. And the killer arrives firing arrows at them, barely missing them, while Monica tries to free Catherine. So Monica is having no success getting Catherine out, so she flags down a ranger that she was radioing, who shows up only for the sole purpose of being another kill. Even though he literally had a sniper rifle, an axe, and a pistol, he still manages to die to the killer. He just gets straight comboed into an execution. So Monica watches the ranger get butchered, right? And finish with a hatchet to the face. He gets literally a hatchet in his forehead. She runs past the killer, grabs the hatchet from his head, and goes to use it to free her friend. And while sawing the rope, he approaches from behind her. We get this like whole dramatic scene where the killer's walking up to them. And then she moves, Monica like moves into the frame or in front of the killer's like silhouette in the background, and then he disappears. There's a lot wrong with everything that happened in this entire scene. Like, why would the killer let her run past him? Why would she even have the strength to remove the hatchet? Or like, why would she not be icked out, like grossed out by pulling the hatchet from a dead man's head? Like, she just straight yanks the hatchet out and just doesn't care, runs past the killer, and the killer's just looking at her like, what the heck's going on here? Like, who are you? You have 2 free eliminations right there. Like, you had 2 free kills right there. Why would you let them live? Like, I don't know. This guy must be Jason Voorhees' brother, because it's honestly like, how is he vanishing like this? Like, I'm waiting for them to turn around and see him sticking out from behind a tree. Like, his hair and his jacket just sticking out from behind a tree, because there's no way you're vanishing like the way you are. So he ends up taking the radio and a hatchet, but he does leave behind the gun. For whatever reason. In the pit, Scott is hallucinating, seeing his sister and friends before he realizes he's starving with no other options except for fish for food that they caught earlier. So he goes ahead, he bites the fish to give it a try, and he spits it out because That's disgusting. This is when the killer shows up and he just looks at Scott as he screams for help. And the killer even does this funny pose to Scott. He's like, hey, do you realize, like, I'm the killer? Why are you asking me to help him? So suddenly it's night again and the group is still looking for Scott when they suddenly hear him in the distance. But Gwen realizes it's only him on a walkie-talkie from earlier that the killer took. And the killer basically set up a bait so he can find them. But realistically, what are the odds of them finding this radio in the giant span of this woods? Like, come on now. So Gwen starts piecing together that someone put the radio out there to find them.
He's in trouble. He's calling for help.
No. Something weird is going on. I mean, Scott didn't hide this radio for us to find. Someone else must be doing this.
What are you talking about? How somebody took Scott?
I don't know.
Wait, you think somebody out there kidnapped Scott? Scott's a big, strong guy. That didn't happen.
Well, then who left this?
They're the gaslighters of the century. I think Lars tells her, he's like, who would kidnap Scott? And it's just like, yeah, because there can't be a psycho killer in the middle of the woods kidnapping people. That doesn't make sense. Men can't kidnap men. That doesn't make sense. Gwen even tries to call Scott's cell phone, and they all get annoyed at her for that.
Jesus, we already tried that, Gwen.
Trying again.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely.
She's only trying to help, and she's the only one trying to do something while everyone else gives up. So when she tries calling Scott, they're all like, ugh, like, what are you doing? Trying to get us out of this situation? Are you dumb?
Are you crazy?
But just when all hope seems lost, Charlie gives everybody a pep talk about finding Scott in the morning as a team. And even Lars kind of comes over. He's like, yeah, man, we're going to do this as a team together. As if that's not what y'all were supposed to be doing to begin with. In the pit, Scott is reminiscing about the car accident where his family is stuck in a car and he struggles to free them as the truck heads right towards them. He also hallucinates another version of himself in a pit and starts calling himself a murderer and how he's not going to escape. Typical, like, hallucination. And I guess he's on meds or something because, like, he starts tweaking out. Like, he genuinely does not seem like a sane person. I feel like they should have included something about his meds being left in the car because unless you got an infection or something, hallucinating like this isn't good. Back to the group, they've made a camp and Charlie's supposed to be keeping watch, but he decides to take a nap instead, giving the killer free access to everybody. And Ashley wakes up to the tent being slowly opened. They just lay there uselessly watching it happen, thinking that it was Charlie opening the tent, but Charlie's obviously fast asleep outside. How can it be him? And I'm honestly surprised he didn't wake up to them yelling. Like, what kind of watch are you? To stand there, to sleep and hear two women yelling your name, your girlfriend yelling your name, and you're just knocked out. Like, so Gwen ends up checking outside, but obviously there's nothing there. And so she tells Ashley to just go to sleep. Like, okay. You both saw the same thing, the tent being open. And you're just like, go back to sleep. Ashley is obviously like still scared. So she's like, well, what was that? Who was that? And Gwen's like, it was nothing. Just go back to sleep. Survival instance of the deer from the beginning of the movie. Like, what are you both thinking? They both lay back down and they somehow soundly go back to sleep. Like, how are you sleeping after that? I would be still awake. I would be way too scared to go to sleep after seeing somebody was trying to get in the tent. And it turns out nobody was there. So when a group wakes up, they discover that their camp has been ransacked. And who would have guessed this was going to happen? Like, this pretty much was known it was going to happen. Somebody was at the camp and y'all just blew it off. So now the phones are gone along with Lars' camera. And Gwen starts freaking out as if it isn't her fault that the stuff is all gone. And she tells everyone that they need to walk until they find people. So she's going to aimlessly walk in one direction and anybody can follow her if they want. Then we jump to the night where we get this unnecessary woohoo scene with Scott and Gwen. If you're gonna put it in a movie, you should have put it at the beginning. Why is this a necessary hallucination from Scott? Anyway, Gwen and Ashley get into an argument where Gwen tells Ashley she's just trying to be her friend and Ashley isn't trying. Ashley blames Gwen for letting her brother abandon her. And honestly, Ashley's such an insufferable character. Like, up until this point, she's only whined and cried and played victim throughout the whole movie. Like, you're not completely innocent here. You're not a likable character at this point.
Please, this is hard enough without you acting like this. Jesus Christ, Gwen, what do you want me to say? What, are we like friends or something? I would like to be. I don't even like to be. Gwen, you don't know the first thing about me, okay? I've tried, Ash. Why do you think we're here? Yeah, you tried so hard that you just like let my brother abandon me.
She just whines this entire dialogue. And then she turns the argument around and says to Gwen, who's like just telling her like, suck it up and that no one's abandoned her. She says, oh, this is all my fault then. The argument stops when they see the killer in a tree watching them. And I bet he was just up there like, really? Are you seriously arguing right now? I should kill you first. Like, honestly, get Ashley first. So after they look away from the killer, he just kind of disappears in the air again like Jason Voorhees. And night comes again, so the group has to make a camp, and they all sit around a campfire. And the location for this film must have been really hot because all the actors are sweating, especially Charlie. Despite the heat of the location, Charlie tells the group that he has to get more firewood. He sets off alone to get some since that's completely safe. When Charlie comes back from collecting wood, he realizes everyone has been captured because leaving your girlfriend alone while there's a killer roaming about and stalking y'all makes sense. Like, the firewood isn't that important. You could have went with everybody to get firewood. You could have took Lars with you or sent Lars to get firewood. Who would rightfully leave their girlfriend behind to go get firewood? The hunter ends up knocking Charlie out, and when he wakes up, he's in a tent by himself that the killer has set on fire. But I guess the hunter wants to give Charlie a chance to escape because he puts a knife inside the tent for him to escape with. And while this is happening, Scott is watching from the pit he's in on Lars' camera, which the killer put down there to torment him, I guess. And I'm not sure how this works, but Scott has Lars' camera. He's watching like a live feed of Charlie like trying to escape the burning tent. But is there a second camera Lars brought? Like, I'm not understanding how this setup works. I don't even know if it's like a recording, like this has all already happened and this is just a recording he's seeing. The film doesn't really explain that to us. But Charlie struggles to get out the tent. He's desperately searching for a way out while Ashley screams to him, and it becomes clear he's not making it out of the tent. And Ashley's last words to him is, I'm pregnant, as he escapes last minute and his burnt body falls out on the ground. Honestly, pretty sad. I wasn't expecting the pregnant couple to like lose somebody. I thought they had more plot armor than that, but I guess not. So the killer then finds time to check in on Scott, who's just saw his best friend burn alive and is traumatized. He didn't even bother killing the rest of the friends after they saw Charlie get burnt alive. Like, he just left him there to escape. I don't understand why. Like, gave them ample amount of time to escape, so they all untie themselves and they go on a run again. After they're all free, they end up running into Catherine and Monica, who are apparently being chased by the killer. At this point, there must be 3 clones of the killer, because how is he going this many places at once? Like, bro is not Jason Voorhees. How are you teleporting everywhere? So they end up all running from him, and the killer's firing arrows at them. They're all dodging and running. And once they all stop to catch their breath, it leads to one of the dumbest decision making again in this movie. Like, there's too many dumb decisions happening. So Catherine stands in the open to let the group know she thinks the killer is gone and that they're safe before a hatchet flies through the air, clipping her like some Call of Duty clip trick shot to a tree. And I don't know how this is humanly possible. Like, this man has some sort of super strength or superpower he unlocked his time being in the woods, because his axe flies, hits Catherine, sticks to her, and attaches her to a tree somehow. Because if you're telling me I only have to live in the woods a couple years to develop super strength, then I've been missing out. So after running again, after witnessing Catherine die, Ashley ends up activating another trap that pierces her shoulder to a tree. And this trap was highly avoidable. Like, she saw it coming towards her and decided to stand there. Even Lars and the rest of the group saw it coming and ducked. But Lars doesn't say anything. He just ducks down. He could have pulled Ashley down. He could have yelled duck. He just lets her get clipped by this tree and attached to it. So while Lars and Gwen work to unstick Ashley from the trap, Monica is being approached by the killer, but she has a revolver, so she has some sort of weapon to defend herself. And the killer's walking in a straight path towards her. He's not dodging. He's not zip-zagging. He's just walking straight towards her. She does get a shot in, but she sees him approaching her, so she has ample amount of time to run away or move. What she does is she just decides to stand there while the killer steps on a trap, triggering this ball of spikes to come right towards her head and kill her. She just stands there, and I'll show the shot here. She just stands there. This isn't a frozen screen. She's standing there watching it come towards her. She wanted to die. Because why would you just stand there? The killer then walks up to Lars and everybody else that was trying to free Ashley. And Lars is like, stay away, stay back. And he knocks him out. Then Gwen tries to do the same thing and fight back. And the killer knocks her out too. And it reminds me of that video on YouTube, the slap, where the guy's slapping all the people lined up. The killer then frees Ashley and he carries Ashley away, leaving, again, 2 people alive that he could have very easily killed. He even talks to Lars again, or knocks Lars out again. Lars is trying to grab his foot to save Ashley and he knocks him out again. He could easily kill these 2 people, but he chooses not to, so they're just unconscious and they're alive. So back in the pit, Scott is just about to give up when he discovers obsidian in the hole. And remember at the beginning of the movie, Charlie and him were fishing and Charlie told him that obsidian can cut through anything. So he begins sawing at the wood that's impaled his leg. So back at the camp, Lars and Gwen wake up to go after Ashley. And they wake up, they somehow figure out where Ashley is by listening to a walkie-talkie where they hear her screaming. And in the background, they hear the sound of a river.
I'm listening. Okay, there's gotta be some kind of clue as to where he's taking her. You hear that? The waterfall.
Stop, you're gonna get your...
And I'm still confused how Lars developed super hearing to hear the river in the background. And also, if Scott was at the river, by the river the whole time, why couldn't Charlie retrace his steps, go back to the river, and they find him if he wasn't that far from the river? That's where they ran from anyway at the beginning of the movie. So this doesn't make sense to me. Back at the pit, Scott watches the killer put Ashley on a tree log over the pit, and we find out the reason he didn't kill her is because he thinks that she is his mom. So all that's missing at this point of the movie is Ashley to put on a sweater and tell the killer, mother is talking to you, Jason, because they're following the same idea of Jason Voorhees thinking that some of the women he is about to kill is his mother. Lars and Gwen arrive at the camp, quietly hiding to scope out the site, and Gwen suddenly forgets that she's supposed to be the smartest character out of the bunch, and she decides to charge straight into the camp after hearing Scott. She ends up getting stuck in a trap that hangs her upside down, and her arm gets caught in a bear trap. Also, you should know she had the gun, so now that's gone, and there's 3 people that are trapped. The killer somehow ends up hearing Lars from behind the tree he was at, and he approaches only for Lars to disappear. Then we see Lars in the background of the killer, and the killer looks and he's gone. So apparently Lars developed the ability to teleport, only being 3 days in the woods, when I thought the minimum was like 15 years according to the killer. So anybody in the woods can just teleport now if you stay there long enough, apparently. Suddenly it starts raining and we begin a final showdown between Lars and the killer. And at this point in the movie, I secretly think Lars was supposed to be the main character because of how much screen time he gets and how much of an importance he's supposed to be. Like, they killed off Charlie without a second thought, and Lars just is still here somehow. The final showdown begins with Lars and the killer. The killer fires some arrows at Lars before running out and decides to knife fight with Lars. Meanwhile, Gwen is reaching for the gun she dropped, and Scott and Ashley are sawing away at their restraints. Now, Lars is getting whooped so badly, and I honestly don't know how he's alive except for plot armor. Next, we get a flashback of Scott and Ashley and their parents during a car accident, and we finally get to see what happened that made Ashley so mad at Scott and made Ashley want to blame Scott for their parents' death. And this flashback lasts forever. It literally lasts like 5 minutes, but long story short, Ashley can't free her seatbelt for some reason, and the two front doors are stuck where their parents are at. A semi-truck is slowly approaching, so Scott's mom tells him to forget about them and to just save his sister, which he does after attempting to help his parents first. So apparently Ashley's just mad because the truck didn't crash and kill them all, because at this point, what else was he supposed to do? And honestly, seeing this cutscene, she should be more to blame than Scott, because she's stuck in a back seat, not unlocking her seatbelt. Like, she can't get her seatbelt unlocked. Why can't you get free from your seatbelt to help out? Why is Scott the only one to get blamed in this situation? You could have easily got out of your seatbelt, reached in the front, and unlocked the car from the inside if it was stuck. Anyway, Scott manages to get the spike from his leg, and he uses the 2 branches he broke to climb the wall of the pit, while Ashley finally has a moment of realization that she's a terrible character and tells him to just save himself. And while the siblings are having a heart-to-heart moment, which is like super sweet with this like sentimental music in the background, Lars is in the background getting tore up by the killer. He's getting beat down by this killer. And the log holding Ashley finally breaks in that same moment. But just when she's about to fall to her doom, Scott saves her. Scott managed to climb out of the pit in the span of like 2-3 seconds, teleport above, and catch her hand before she fell in the pit. Again, people were just teleporting all over the woods. What is going on here? And they have another heart-to-heart where Scott tells Ashley, like, hey, I saved you for a reason. It's always been you, and I would do it again. And Ashley's just like, aw, as if the point didn't stand already that he saved you for a reason. And that should have meant something already. Why is this just now making sense to her? Lars is just about to be finished off by the killer when he sprays bear mace at his face, and Gwen then strategically places the bear trap behind the killer, who stumbles into it. Then after this happens, mind you, the killer's still alive. Stepping in a bear trap didn't finish off the killer. Gwen turns around and stares at Scott, and all the characters just look at each other for several seconds with their backs to the killer. Well, Gwen's back is to the killer. Everyone else can see the killer behind Gwen, but they don't decide to warn her. They let the killer sneak up behind her and stab Gwen. So Gwen's dead now. This entire scene was so pointless, especially the way Gwen turned around. Like, it was as if the director was like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Because why did she turn around like this and put her back to the killer? So Gwen is finally dead, and Scott doesn't react at all. Like, he doesn't care. Like, your girlfriend died in front of you and no one's reacting really. They don't care about Gwen. So the killer is approaching Scott and completely ignoring Ashley. And while he's distracted by Scott, Ashley knocks the killer in the back with a branch into Scott, who gets a knife somehow, or a branch, I guess. And he stabs the killer. Right as the killer's dying, he turns to Ashley and he says, "Run, mama, he's gonna hurt you." And we get like this kind of like flashback of dad and a mom holding the killer, saying like, it's gonna be okay. And we're supposed to feel bad for the killer right now, but he mercilessly killed like 5 people and maybe more. Elizabeth, how are we supposed to sympathize with this killer? I'm really asking. I don't feel bad for him. His villain arc, his reasoning behind murdering random people in the woods is not grand enough to account for everything. Like, it's not justified. So anyway, the killer falls into the pit and he gets impaled by his own trap. And we get this whole awkward Blair Witch angle from Ashley looking down into the pit. But I guess everything's good now. The killer's dead and everyone walks off into the sunset. I guess they were thinking of making a part 2 of this movie, because we get like a pre-credit scene of like this little boy looking into the pit saying like, wow, amazing.
Whoa. Amazing.
Because this dirty pit filled with water and blood is like so interesting. Anyway, while the little boy's looking in the pit, he gets snatched up by the hunter, and that would be the end of this very terrible movie. So yeah, they were definitely planning on releasing a sequel, but after sharing the budget from earlier and versus how much they grossed, I don't think they're making any movies for a while. So overall, I would give the PItfall a 3.5 out of 10, and a huge waste of my time. So thank you guys for joining me on this watch. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments if you have any more like movie recommendations for me. It doesn't have to be a horror movie. It can be like a show, but I'll gladly watch it and review it for you guys, and we can discuss it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and until next time.